Our planet is just this incredible place, the only one we know of that's absolutely buzzing with life. But have you ever stopped to think, why? What's so special about this particular rock hurtling through space that makes it the perfect home for everything from the tiniest microbes all the way up to us? Well, the simple answer is that Earth has the three key ingredients for life as we know it. You've got land, water, and air. But the real magic, the secret sauce, isn't just that they're here. It's all about how they work together. So, right here on the surface of the Earth, you've got these three components, land, water, and air. And they all meet, they overlap, and they interact. And this interaction, this kind of dance, well, it creates a fourth, really special zone. Together, these make up the planet's four major domains. And a great way to get our heads around these systems is to look back to the ancient Greeks. Lithos means stone, and that gives us the lithosphere. Hudor means water, which gives us the hydrosphere. Atmos means vapor for the atmosphere. And when they all come together, they create the bios, which means life, in the biosphere. So let's take a quick tour of each. All right, first up, the lithosphere. This is the solid ground right under our feet. You could think of it as the solid stage where the whole drama of life unfolds. Now, the lithosphere, it's not just a bunch of rock. It also includes those thin layers of soil, the stuff that contains all the nutrients that life absolutely depends on. Its surface is split into two main parts, the huge land masses we call continents and the vast ocean basins. Okay, get ready for this, because this really puts the sheer scale of our planet into perspective. The highest point on land, Mount Everest, is a massive 8,848 meters high. But the deepest part of the ocean, the Mariana Trench, goes down a staggering 11,022 meters. Think about that for a second. The ocean is literally deeper than our tallest mountain is high. Wow. So these huge land masses, they make up our 7 continents, all separated by these vast oceans. And here's a cool little fact for you. Most of the Earth's land is actually packed into the northern hemisphere. But these continents aren't all just floating out there on their own. Sometimes they're connected by what's called an isthmus, which is just a very narrow strip of land. The most famous example, of course, is the Isthmus of Panama. It's like a natural land bridge that connects North and South America. Okay, so we've covered the solid ground. Now, let's move on and see how this all connects. We're going to dive right into the hydrosphere. And yep, this is exactly why we call Earth the blue planet. I mean, look at that number. It's pretty obvious why we call it the blue planet, right? More than 71% of its surface is covered with water. And the hydrosphere, well, that includes all of it. Oceans, rivers, lakes, ice caps, glaciers, even the water vapor that's in the air. But, and this is a big but, here's the twist. Even though our planet is just swimming in water, over 97% of it is salty ocean water. We can't drink it, we can't use it for farming, so that leaves this teeny tiny fraction of fresh water for everything else. And it gets even crazier. If we zoom in on that little 2.8%, most of that is locked up as ice or buried deep underground. What's actually available for us, for all of life to use, is a mind-bogglingly small 0.03% of all the water on Earth. It's this wild paradox, isn't it? We live on a water world, but usable fresh water is incredibly rare. So that huge, salty part of the hydrosphere, it's divided into 5 major oceans, but they're all really just one big interconnected body of water. The Pacific, that's the big one. It covers a third of the Earth. The Atlantic is the busiest for trade and commerce. The Indian Ocean is the only one named after a country. Then you've got the Southern Ocean, circling Antarctica, and the Arctic Ocean up around the North. All right, so from the deepest parts of the ocean, let's head up, way up, into our third domain, the atmosphere. It's this thin, gaseous layer that wraps around our planet, an invisible shield that makes all of this possible. This thing extends up about 1,600 kilometers, and it's not just one big blob of air. It's actually split into 5 different layers based on things like temperature and what it's made of. Down here, where all the action is, that's the troposphere. That's our home. Then you go up through the stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and finally the exosphere, which just kind of fades out into space. So what's actually in this air we're all breathing right now? Well, it's a pretty surprising mix. A whopping 78% is nitrogen, which is super important for plants to grow. The oxygen that we need to live, that makes up about 21%. And then that tiny little 1% left over, that includes gases like carbon dioxide, which plants need and which helps keep our planet nice and warm. Okay, so we've got land, we've got water, and we've got air. Our final stop, our final piece of the puzzle, is where these three things come together, where they meet and interact to create the most incredible domain of all, the biosphere. So, the biosphere, think of it as this super narrow, really precious zone where life happens. It's not some separate place over there. It is the intersection of the other three domains. It's where you find every single living thing, from bacteria to blue whales, and it's where we all make our home. And this right here, this brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer. Everything is connected. Every living organism, and that includes us, is deeply, deeply linked to every other organism and to the planet's systems just to survive.
Now, the source material gives us some really clear examples of how our actions can affect this delicate balance. For instance, it points out that when we cut down forests, maybe for wood, or to clear land for farming, that can cause soil to just wash away. When waste gets discharged into rivers, it can make that water unusable and harm the life in it. And of course, emissions from industry and cars can increase CO2, which can lead to a rise in global temperatures.
So really, the main message from the source is all about balance. It's basically highlighting our need to be really careful to manage our resources in a way that keeps that natural equilibrium, that harmony between the land, the air, and the water, because that's what supports everything in the biosphere. And that brings us to our final thought for today. We've taken a quick tour of our planet's incredible life support system, this delicate, interconnected balance of land, water, and air. The question this all leaves us with is this: as inhabitants of this biosphere, how are the choices we make every single day shaping its future? Thanks for joining me.